Why is it that policyholders are so afraid of carriers when they're the customer? Would you be afraid of your landscaper if your landscaper didn't edge your yard?
I know.
No. You would say, I'm not paying you till my yard is edged. Why? Can you shed a little light on that?
Sure.
And in your answer,
The answer is obvious, because they don't read the last page of their policy. If they read the last page of their property policy, or second to the last page, depending on how the paragraphs fall, it states that under what circumstances a carrier can void a policy, which is fraud, under what circumstances they can cancel a policy, failure to make a payment, and under what circumstances they can non-renew their policy. See, that's what they're afraid of, that they're going to be either canceled or non-renewed. Most consumers don't even know how to differentiate between the two, all right? And so if people will actually read their policy, or at least the last page of their policy, it states the exact circumstance under which a carrier can refuse to renew the policy at the end of the policy period. And here's the one thing that the consumer can do to not get non-renewed. All right? To get non-renewed. It says if you have an increase in a risk that's within your control, that would be an increase of insurance premium for that increased risk, right? And you should have told your agent so that we can increase your premium, and you failed to do that, we can non-renew you for that increased risk.
So I build a patio cover on the back of my house.
Swimming
I don't
pool,
tell my agent.
trampoline, you buy a
Rolling gate.
a Doberman.
Yeah.
Some increase in risk
Sure.
that's within your control, and you should have told your agent so they can increase the insurance premiums to cover that additional risk. You failed to tell them. Whether you failed to tell them on purpose or not, it doesn't specify. They can non-renew you for that. So as long as they haven't done that and failed to pay their premium, then guess what? The insurance companies must renew the policy. Contractually. It's in the contract. So all you got to do is educate the consumer and have them pull out their policy. And if they can't find it, you can have a sample policy with you and say, let you read this policy, Mrs. Jones. The wording in yours may be different. I have no idea because you can't find your policy. But let you read what this one says. And I'll bet you dollars to donuts that yours is substantially similar to this. And you have them simply read the policy. Has there been an increase in risk, Mrs. Jones?
No.
Then guess what? They can't. As long as you continue to pay your premium on time and you don't have an increase in risk that's within your control, then guess what? They can't non-renew you. In fact, if I were you, I would beg them to non-renew me. And then I could sue their butt for breach of contract.
Yeah.
And get treble damages. Please non-renew me.
Right. Yeah.
Again, it comes down to ignorance.
Yes.
So our job is to educate the consumer so that they're no longer ignorant. Ignorant just means a lack of knowledge.
Yeah,
right?
so if we can empower the client with knowledge, working knowledge, since we work claims all day, every day, and restore. I don't even like saying work claims. I like to say restore properties.
Well, our job, we don't work claims.
Claim.
We don't work claims.
This is my price. This is my price if
we're
it's
construction business.
A cash retail job or if it's a claim job.
It's the same price.
Right.
I mean, isn't it?
Yes, it should be. Right. There should not be a difference. Obviously, when it is a competitive market, if you're not good at selling on value, then you have to sell on price.
Then you need to do something else.
Yes.
Because you're going to be out of business.
Maybe,
if you sell on price, then you're going to be out of business.
Yeah, maybe you should go sell used cars.
Something else.
Would you agree with this statement? Insurance companies on purpose target 3 groups of people: minorities, single women, senior citizens. Would you agree with that?
Well, they're the most vulnerable because they
can't stand up for themselves.
Yeah, and
limited resources.
I know it sounds terrible to say that, but they are more easily victimized, and you know what? They're smart people that know this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a business. This is a strategy.
Yeah.
It makes my blood boil. I know it makes yours boil too.
When I started out as an adjuster 17 years ago, pretty much if someone made a compelling, cogent argument about something, then they would go, oh, yeah, you're right. And they would make an adjustment to their estimate. That's why they're called adjusters, by the way, is because if you make a compelling argument, they make adjustments to their estimate. That's what adjusters do. They make adjustments. I mean, they're not chiropractors.
Right.
Why are they called adjusters if they don't make adjustments?
Yeah, originally that was their job. Now the job is just as you put in your book, delay, deny, defend. That's the job. That's the scope of their job. In fact, most adjusters would like to see your estimate as a contractor before they even generate their own,
I think,
so they can just pick it apart.
And that's the reason why you don't give a line item estimate. Now you do use Xactimate. I recommend you use Xactimate to create a scope report.
Yes.
And you refer to that as a specification sheet or a spec sheet. I mean, contractors have been doing this for hundreds of years. This is the work we're going to perform. Here's our spec sheet. This is all the specifications. Here's our price, $38,721.17.
Yep.
For this work. But there's no pricing.
Right.
You don't
extended
create an
line
estimate
items.
in Xactimate. You create a scope report in Xactimate.
And then a bottom line price.
And that scope report becomes your spec sheet.
Yes.
And here's the price.
Isn't
Here's
that
the work,
scope report?
Here's the price.
That scope report could be copied and pasted into your work order for your crew. This is what we told them we were going to do.
Correct.
This is what you need to go do.
Correct.
I'll be by to inspect. See you at 3 o'clock with Gatorade.
And here's the
Nice.
specifications. 30-year
Right.
laminate. I want the felt lapped over the drip edge, not under it. I want it done correctly. Again, construction best practices. And you go over what that is and what your expectations are. Again, he's setting expectations for the company that's doing the work.
To summarize, with regard to policyholders who they've got life coming at them, the kid on cocaine, the wife trying to divorce, businesses in the tubes.
Yep.
My property is damaged. I just want it fixed. The onus then is on the contractor to arm.
Well, you say, well, when you say fixed, what do you mean by that?
Right.
I mean, do you want mediocre workmanship? Do you want substandard construction?
No.
Do you want construction best practices? What are your requirements? What do you want?
Right.
If you say you want mediocre workmanship, then you're going to have to hire someone else. We don't do that to people. Remember me telling you that?
Yes. We don't do that to people.
We don't do that to people. You know what? I know companies that do mediocre workmanship that are loyal to the insurance company.
Yes.
I'll be happy to refer them to you. And you refer the jerks to those people.
Yeah,
because
the
that's
MRP partners.
Because that's what they insist on.
Yep.
They insist on having a contractor like that, so that's who you refer them to.
You bet.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. So if you want the client on your side, if you're a contractor.
No, on their side.
Well, on their own side.
They're on their own side.
True. And that's the mindset shift, is it not?
It
because
is.
a lot of contractors are saying to Mrs. Jones, listen, I'm going to go fight for you. You don't have to do anything. But we can't. That's never going to work. It doesn't work. It used to kind of work, but only at a mediocre level. You've already explained in a previous video how 10 and 10 is not going to keep you in business for the long term.
Well, it's a lie.
And a lot of contractors think, oh, if we get 10 and 10 on this, we're doing great.
I don't even think Lennar Homes, which I think is the largest home builder in America, works on 10 and 10.
I don't think Palm Harbor,
Yeah.
which is the largest mobile home.
Yeah, works on 10 and 10.
No, I don't either.
Yeah. There's no one who works on 10 and 10. No one in the construction business.
The bottom line.
It's absurd. You know where that come from?
Where?
Architects decades ago, if you were to hire an architect to build a house and you're going to be looking for a home builder to build the house that the architect draws up, they would say never spend more than contractors 10 and 10. Thinking they're helping the consumer. That's where that come from. And the insurance company goes, ooh, we can latch onto that.
Yeah.
That's where that come from.
So
that was decades ago, though, like 50 years ago.
The bottom line, to paraphrase this video, is that the client needs to stand up for themselves. In order to do that in a cogent, effective way, they've got to know what they're talking about, and the onus is on the contractor to educate the client.
It's not even an option.
Yeah.
Or go do something else.
Right. Go sell cars.
And if you're going to be a professional in this industry, then you need to act in a professional manner. And you have to set expectations. It's the same thing in the retail business. If I'm going to do a kitchen remodel, I'm going to do a pre-construction meeting with them where I set expectations for the project. If I don't set expectations for the project, then the consumer has this illusion in their mind of how the project is going to unfold. You just set them up to be disillusioned because you've allowed this illusion in their head to remain, rather than going in and doing your job and setting expectations and explaining how the process works and everything like that. And they go, oh, I didn't know it worked like that. Of course you don't. You're a consumer. You have no idea what we do for a living.
Right.
That's why you hired a professional.
Absolutely.
Because you don't know this. If you knew this, you'd be the contractor.
Yeah. As a policyholder, can I expect that in an efficient, a time efficient way, if I stand up for myself, I know what I'm talking about, I know my rights as a policyholder, that I can get my claim paid fairly by the carrier? And as a caveat to that, if not, if my carrier continues to stonewall me, what are my options as the policyholder?
So the consumer, what they need to do is you have to explain to them that if they're dealing with an adjuster that refuses to be reasoned with, that they can go above their head to the claims manager, the regional claims supervisor, and on up to the vice president of claims, trying to find someone who can be reasoned with. And you should be able to tell within 2 or 3 minutes whether or not the person on the phone that you're talking with can be reasoned with or not. If they start arguing with you, then you go above their head. And if you've exhausted that, and there's no one that can be reasoned with in the claims department, then they have 6 options. Option number 1, they can do nothing. That's a horrible option. The insurance companies love consumers that do nothing. Option number 2, the consumer can take it on the chin. So let's say you're at $30,000 and the insurance company is at $12,000. Actually, that's not unlikely even nowadays.
No, it's not.
Right? So the consumer can take it on the chin and come out of pocket the $18,000 or finance the $18,000 difference and hire you to do construction best practices. Option number 3, they can take it on the chin and they can hire one of the insurance company's MRPs or one of their preferred contractors. Of course, they're their preferred contractors. They do substandard construction for the low ball price. Of course, they're preferred. Duh. Yeah. So the consumer could do that. They could hire one of the substandard construction guys that are loyal to the insurance company to do their work. Option number 4, they can litigate. 2 different ways they can do that. They can do small claims court, and you don't even have to have a lawyer in small claims court. They can call you up, the contractor, on the witness stand and ask you, the contractor, questions as to why every line item on your estimate is legitimate and reasonable and how you arrived at your price. Boom, small claims court. In Texas, it used to be the maximum amount you could claim in small claims court was $10,000. It just went up to
$19,999.
Yeah, $20,000.
Yes.
Yeah, it just doubled. So from state to state, you have to go in and Google and find out what it is in your state small claims court. Or they can actually lawyer up and litigate. They can do that. Option number 5, they can hire a public adjuster to represent them. And if your client is in over their head, they would be wise to do so. If your client is in over their head, they need representation. Option number 6 is appraisal. There's a paragraph hidden down in the bowels of the policy that says if you and we disagree on the amount of the loss, scope, or price, then either may demand appraisal. Many times, that's the quickest and least expensive of the options. The other 5 options cost more than appraisal. Doing nothing costs more.
Oh, yeah.
Because they owe you $18,000.
Right.
And you ain't got the money.
Exactly.
So all of the other 5 options, maybe small claims court costs less. Maybe it's faster.
That $20,000 number in the state of Texas, though, might be below what the difference is.
Well, in our example, the carrier's at 12, the contractor's at 30, there's an $18,000 dispute. They can take that to small claims court. Let's say it was a $25,000 dispute. Then they take 20 of it to small claims court. Mm-hmm. And they just don't get the other 5.
Right.